It's hard to imagine famous people ever struggling for money, but many of them were not just poor, they were homeless. Here are some more incredible stories of people who, at some point in their lives, had nowhere else to sleep but on the streets. They eventually turned their lives around and became an inspiration to anyone who dreams of a professional career despite starting from nothing. Steve Jobs. What comes to mind first when you hear the name Steve Jobs? Let us guess. Money, 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 and more money, correct? What if we told you that the co-founder, former chairman, and CEO of Apple Incorporated was once broke and homeless? In 1972, Jobs enrolled at Reed College in Portland, Oregon. He ultimately decided to drop out because he trusted that it would all work out okay. However, during this process, Jobs became homeless. Being a homeless and unemployed student required Jobs to return Coke bottles to earn money for food and walk 7 miles across town to get a free meal once a week at the Hare Krishna temple. In the end, Jobs says that dropping out of college and pursuing his intuition was one of the best decisions he ever made. Steve Jobs started Apple out of his parents' garage when he was 20 years old. Within 10 years, Jobs was part of a company that was worth $2 billion and ultimately became one of the most important technology companies of our time. Sylvester Stallone. In the early 1970s, Stallone was often destitute, even homeless, while struggling to find work. An outcast his entire life, Stallone saw acting as a profession, though his face and voice were factors in his constant rejection of roles. At his lowest point, Stallone sold his family dog because he could no longer afford to feed it. There's no doubt that the earnings of only one of the many Rocky and Rambo films would be enough for any ordinary person to have a great life without having to work for the rest of their lives. Still, for Stallone's delicate and expensive taste, one film could never be enough. Against all odds, Sly managed to become one of the most commercially successful action movie stars of all time and a pop icon of our era, despite the fact that, as a young man, he had to spend about 3 weeks sleeping at the Port Authority bus station. Today, Sylvester Stallone, the iconic American actor, screenwriter, producer, and director, has achieved a remarkable net worth of $400 million throughout his illustrious career. Halle Berry. Oscar winner Halle Berry once stayed in a homeless shelter in her early 20s. When she first moved to Chicago to become an actress, Berry ran out of money, and her mother decided that the best thing would not be to send her daughter money. During these troubling times, the actress admits to staying in a homeless shelter. Today, Berry's net worth stands at $90 million, according to Celebrity Net Worth. Berry wasn't born with a silver spoon in her mouth. Her parents divorced when she was 4 years old, and from then on, she lived exclusively with her mother. However, she continued her struggles in the acting profession, and in 2002, she won the Academy Award for Best Actress for her role in Monsters Ball. Berry was one of the top-paid actors in the 2000s. Today, she consistently earns $10 to $12 million per significant film role. John Woo. John Woo is a film director best known for his explosive action movies. Although Woo started his career by making films in the Hong Kong industry, the director is best known in the West for blockbusters such as Mission Impossible and Face Off. Woo came from an impoverished family, as his father was unable to work due to tuberculosis. In 1953, further tragedy struck after the Woo's home burned to the ground due to a massive brush fire that wreaked devastation across their home city of Guangzhou. Following this, John Woo and his family were homeless for a time until a charitable organization aided the organization. The famous Chinese director who has given the world the epic blockbusters Face Off and Mission Impossible 2 had to deal with life's rough side from a very young age. Poverty and lack of food on many occasions were standard for Woo's family, since his father had tuberculosis and could not work and provide for his family. For the next 2 years, the family wandered from shelter to shelter until they managed to get a new place to live an everyday life again. During this time, Woo had his heart set on becoming a priest until he was advised to pursue a more creative career. He continued acting and step by step, made his brand of operatic action films. After his struggle, John Woo became a Hong Kong film director, writer, producer, editor, and actor with a net worth of $70 million. Jim Morrison. Jim Morrison is a poet and singer-songwriter best recognized as the lead singer of The Doors, a Los Angeles-based rock band who has an estimated net worth of $15 million. But most of his fans will tell you how Jim lived during his short but remarkable career in a cheap hotel on La Cienega Boulevard in Los Angeles. Still, not many know that before Morrison stepped into the music profession, he used to be homeless and slept in just about any place you can literally imagine. Rumors have it that he even spent quite a few nights under the pier at Venice Beach. In 1947, when he was 3 to 4 years old, Morrison allegedly witnessed a car accident in the desert during which a truck overturned and some Native Americans were lying injured on the side of the road. Morrison described this incident as the most formative event of his life and made repeated references to it in the imagery of his songs, poems, and interviews. Due to this, his albums became hits and amazed the audience with the struggle in his life. James Cameron. Oscar-winning Canadian director James Cameron, known for his work on hit films including the Oscar-winning Titanic and the Avatar franchise, lived in his car before selling the film rights to The Terminator. Yet his primary concern at the time was not money. He was determined to direct his screenplay despite his limited experience. James Cameron was the director of the film Titanic, and, as we all know, how much the Titanic film was a hit. From that day, James Cameron became a successful millionaire, and today their net worth of James is estimated at $800 million. According to an estimate, Titanic made an estimated profit of $1.4 billion at the box office. With a hopping budget of $210 million, $337 million in today's dollars, Titanic was the most expensive film ever made at the time of its release. Charlie Chaplin. Before the age of 10, Charlie Chaplin had to figure out how to make a living on the streets of London. After the early death of his father, Chaplin's mother was put in a mental hospital, and the young boy and his brother had to try to make a living by themselves. Both his parents were in show business, so Chaplin and his brother decided to follow suit. Today, he's known as one of the greatest actors of the silent film era. Considered to be one of the greatest actors of all time, Charlie Chaplin earned his living as a child by working in circuses on the streets of London. He soon entered showbiz by joining the Fred Karno pantomime troupe and established himself as an actor. According to reports, Charlie Chaplin had an estimated net worth of $400 million at the time of his death. Harry Houdini. Before becoming the greatest magician, Harry Houdini ran away from home at the age of 12 and begged on the streets for coins. According to Appleton Public Library, Houdini knew he wanted to be a magician at a young age and ran away from home by hopping a freight car. A few years later, he moved to New York City with his father, but they were so poor Houdini continued to panhandle on the streets. He began his professional career at 17. Houdini first attracted notice in vaudeville in the United States. While on a tour of Europe, he challenged police forces to keep him locked up. From about 1900, Houdini began to earn an international reputation for his daring feats of extrication, from shackles, ropes, and handcuffs to various locked containers ranging from milk cans to coffins to prison cells. For most of his career, Houdini was a headline act in vaudeville. For many years, he was the highest-paid performer in American vaudeville. In 1923, Houdini became president of Martinka & Co., America's oldest magic company. The business is still in operation today. At the time of his death, Houdini's net worth was estimated at $500,000, which is a big amount for a person who used to live on the streets. Carmen Electra. Back in her 20s, Carmen's boyfriend stole all of her savings and left her with nothing. As a result, she was homeless and lived on the streets of California for a few years. Carmen Electra, born Tara Lee Patrick, is best known for her work as a model, actress, and television personality. Ever since her appearances in Playboy magazine and a recurring role on Baywatch in the late 90s, Electra has become a household name. In Electra's case, it was a relatively easy road to Hollywood, though. Electra has revealed that she was homeless in the city of Los Angeles during her early 20s after an ex-boyfriend stole her entire savings. Thankfully, the model has since claimed that her experiences while homeless helped to strengthen her resolve while climbing the ladder of the cutthroat entertainment industry. From homelessness to being a successful actor, Carmen's net worth has been converted into $8 million. Jennifer Lopez. Jennifer is worth an estimated $250 million, thanks to a hugely successful singing, acting, and modeling career that transformed her into a household name. Like many others on this list, Lopez's journey was challenging. Lopez grew up in the Bronx, New York City, to a relatively low-income family. Her parents were able to save up some money, and Lopez began taking regular dancing and singing lessons. Her mother had never intended for this to become a professional option, though, and the two would often butt heads over Lopez's decision to pursue an acting career. After telling her mother that she was choosing acting over college, Lopez was forced to sleep on the sofa at a local dance studio. After a few months of homelessness, Lopez managed to land a dancing job in Europe before moving to Los Angeles in the same year. Jennifer came from an impoverished family, but despite her fame, Lopez has not abandoned her roots. Her popular song, Jenny from the Block, is about how she has struggled in her life, and she doesn't hide from the audience the truth that a low-income family brought her up. Perhaps due to her own difficult times in the past, Lopez specifically supports children's charities.